The house had been silent for so long that even the floorboards seemed to sigh when someone walked across them. Sheriff Daniel Ray told himself the place was empty, just another forgotten farmhouse on the edge of town. But the dog knew better. Boone, his German shepherd, stood rigid in the hallway, hackles raised, staring at a cracked plaster wall as though something alive pulsed beneath it. Daniel felt it too, a faint tremor, a cold draft leaking through what should have been solid stone. He whispered for Boone to heel, but the dog wouldn't move. The farmhouse had belonged to the Callahan family once, though no one had seen them in years. Folks in Bridger Hollow said the Callahans had gone bankrupt and left town overnight, leaving behind only a sagging porch and windows dusted with cobweb lace. But Daniel knew better. He remembered the last time he'd been out here, 10 years ago, after the youngest Callahan girl vanished. The parents swore she'd run away. The town swallowed the lie whole, and Daniel, just a deputy then, didn't push harder. Now the house smelled of mold, wet earth, and something faintly metallic. Rain had dripped through the roof for so long that brown streaks stained the wallpaper. A swollen door groaned open under Daniel's shoulder, and dust floated to the beam of his flashlight. Boone froze in the narrow hallway. The dog's ears pricked, body rigid. His brown eyes fixed on a section of wall where the plaster had bubbled and cracked. Daniel followed the gaze. A damp patch spread outward, shaped almost like a hand pressed flat from the inside. "Come on, boy," Daniel muttered, tugging the leash. Boone didn't flinch. A low growl built in his throat, vibrating through the still air. Daniel's radio hissed with static. He pressed it to his mouth. "Yeah, it's me. House is empty so far." Boone's keyed up on something. Might just be a raccoon in the walls. A voice crackled back. Deputy Carl Monroe. Sharp as ever. "You sure? Place gives me the creeps just looking at it. I'm waiting out front, but holler if you need backup." "Will do." He clipped the radio back. The wall gave a faint pop. Tiny flecks of plaster fell, drifting down Boone's snout. The dog barked once, sharp, desperate. Daniel lifted his flashlight. The beam traced a hairline fracture splitting upward. He reached out. The plaster felt wrong. Soft, damp, almost spongy beneath his fingertips. He pulled his hand back, wiped gray dust on his jeans. Boone snarled, clawing the floor. Then silence. Daniel leaned closer, ear almost touching the wall. At first, nothing. Then a sound so faint it made his stomach clench. The scrape of nails. Not Boone's. Not a raccoon. Something inside. The wall shuddered. Chunks tumbled out, clattering to the warped floorboards. Daniel stumbled back, pulling Boone with him. A cloud of dust bloomed, choking, blinding. He coughed, eyes watering. When the haze settled, the flashlight beam landed on darkness, a cavity carved into the wall, and something inside it. He raised the light higher. A human arm, brittle as old parchment, jutted from the hollow. Fingers curled stiffly as though still clutching at escape. Daniel's breath caught. He tasted copper in his mouth, a ghost of old blood. His hand trembled so badly he nearly dropped the light. Behind him, the front door banged open. Carla's voice cut through the dust. "Sheriff? What the hell's going on in here?" Daniel didn't answer. He couldn't. Boone whined low, pressing against his leg. Carla stepped into the beam, eyes widening at the wall. "Jesus Christ!" She stumbled back, hand flying to her mouth. "Is that?" "Yeah," Daniel said hoarsely. "That's a body." For a moment, the only sound was the rain ticking on the roof. Carla's flashlight joined his, and the light swept further inside the cavity. More shapes emerged. Fragments of fabric, bones stacked like cordwood. Not just one body. Several. "Dear God," Carla whispered. Daniel felt a sickness rising, not just from the sight, but from the memory it stirred. 10 years ago, the Callahan girl, his gut twisting when her father swore she ran off. His silence, his failure. "Get forensics out here," Daniel said, voice low, "and call the coroner. We got ourselves a graveyard in the goddamn walls." Carla's radio clicked as she relayed the order. Daniel stayed rooted, unable to look away. The farmhouse had been silent for a decade, but now it seemed alive again. breathing through the cracks, whispering through the dust. Boone sat down hard, eyes still locked in the cavity, as if the dog knew there was more to come. And Daniel, for the first time in years, felt the past closing in. Rain beat harder against the farmhouse roof as blue lights washed the empty fields outside. Sheriff Daniel Ray stood on the sagging porch, coat collar turned up, watching the forensics van bump down the dirt road. Behind him, the house seemed to groan, as if every wall resented the intrusion. Carla Monroe lit a cigarette under the porch beam, though she'd quit years ago. Her hand shook as she struck the match. Jesus, Danny, this is bigger than a runaway kid. We got half a cemetery stuffed in the damn drywall. Daniel didn't answer. His mind was still inside, staring at brittle fingers clawing through plaster. Boone pressed against his leg, restless, as though urging him back in. Carla exhaled smoke. You okay? Daniel rubbed his jaw. I should have pushed harder back then. 10 years ago. That little girl. I let it go too easy. Carla flicked ash into the rain. Don't start. Nobody thought twice when the Callahans left town. Hell, half of us were glad to see them go. Man had a temper. Wife was a ghost. The house was bad news. Daniel's eyes narrowed. You sound like you knew more than you let on. She met his stare, unflinching. I know what everyone knew. Callahan drank. He beat his wife. Town looked away. Nothing new in Bridger Hollow. The forensics van squealed to a stop, headlights washing the porch. A tall man in coveralls hopped out, lugging a metal case. Evening, Sheriff. Heard you found something ugly. Daniel led them inside. The air grew heavier the deeper they went, thick with rot and damp plaster. Boone patted ahead, nose twitching. The cavity in the wall had widened where Daniel had pulled away plaster. Under the harsh beam of the forensics lamps, the horror became clearer. At least 3 skeletons, their bones tangled like discarded dolls. Scraps of fabric still clung to them. Child pajamas, a woman's faded dress. Christ almighty, the technician muttered. Looks like they were walled up alive. Daniel swallowed. His throat was raw. Get them out. Carefully. As gloved hands worked, Boone moved to another section of wall, pawing at it. His nails clicked frantically. Daniel frowned. What is it, boy? Boone barked, sharp, insistent. Carla frowned. Another body? Daniel crouched, pressed his palm to the cracked plaster. This wall felt colder, the draft sharper. Boone growled, teeth bared. Before Daniel could say a word, the plaster collapsed inward, spilling dust. Behind it yawned not a cavity, but a hidden door, iron rusted, sent to the frame like a vault. The room went silent. Carla whispered, What the hell were they hiding in there? Daniel stood, heart pounding. He ran a hand over the iron handle. Cold bit through his glove. Get a crowbar. It took 2 men to pry the door open. Hinges screeched, a sound like something long buried crying out. The door swung into darkness. A sour stench rolled out, thick and cloying. Daniel raised his flashlight. The beam caught brick steps, spiraling downward. Carla swore under her breath. A basement. Nobody ever said this house had one. Daniel glanced at her. That's because it wasn't built to be found. Boone lunged forward, but Daniel caught the leash. The dog whined, ears flat, tail low. Every instinct in him said go down. Every instinct in Daniel said stay away. Still he descended. The basement air was colder, damp like a cave. The flashlight carved through the dark, illuminating stone walls slick with moss. A single bulb dangled from a wire, long dead. The beam swept across the floor and froze. A circle of chairs sat in the center, all facing inward. On each chair lay remnants of rope, scraps of clothing. Stains darkened the floor. Beneath them, old black stains. Carla gagged behind him. Oh, my God! Daniel's pulse thudded. They didn't just hide bodies. They did something down here. He stepped closer. Carved into stone around the circle were symbols. Jagged, uneven, gouged deep as though by a desperate hand. Boone growled, hackles rising. Rituals, Carla whispered. Some kind of ceremony. Daniel shook his head. No, Callahan wasn't the type. She shot him a hard look. You think you knew the type? You let his kid's case rot on your desk. The words cut sharper than she knew. Daniel clenched his jaw, fighting down guilt and anger. A sound broke the tension, metal clattering in the dark. Daniel swung the beam. At the far wall, a chain rattled against stone. Something moved. For a moment, Daniel thought his eyes betrayed him. A figure hunched in the shadows, thin as wire, skin pale as paper, shackled by one wrist. Carla gasped. Holy shit, it's alive. The figure turned. Eyes glinted in the light, wild, feral, lips peeled back from cracked teeth. A voice croaked, hoarse, like it hadn't spoken in years. Don't let him back in. Daniel's breath froze. Who are you? The figure shrank back, rattling the chain. He feeds the walls. He feeds the walls. Boone barked furiously, lunging against the leash. Carla's voice shook. Jesus, Danny, that's a person. We need to get them out. The figure screamed, a raw, broken sound. Then it collapsed, trembling violently, foam bubbling at its mouth. Daniel rushed forward, fumbling with the shackle. The lock was rusted solid. Get me cutters, he shouted. The forensics tech scrambled up the stairs. Carla knelt beside Daniel, flashlight shaking. The figure writhed, whispering through cracked lips, Don't trust her. She knows. Daniel froze. He turned to Carla. She looked just as stricken as he felt, or she played it well. What the hell is he talking about? Daniel demanded. Carla's jaw tightened. He's delirious. Don't you dare. The man convulsed again, then went still. Daniel pressed fingers to his neck. Nothing. Carla pulled back, pale as chalk. He's gone. The room was silent, except for Boone's low growl. Daniel's mind spun. Don't trust her. She knows. Carla stood, shoving her hands through her hair. We need to seal this place off until the state can handle it. This isn't our jurisdiction anymore. This is bigger than us. Daniel rose slowly, eyes on her. Maybe, but you knew something back then, didn't you? She turned on him, anger flaring. Careful, Danny. You think I had a hand in this? After all these years. Daniel stepped closer. The air between them charged, heavy with dust, fear, and something darker. I think, he said quietly, you've been keeping secrets. For a heartbeat, she held his gaze. Then she looked away. Boone barked once, sharp, echoing in the stone chamber. And Daniel knew. The truth hadn't all come out yet. Not even close. The farmhouse didn't sleep that night. Lights glared through the broken windows. Radios crackled, boots thudded across rotting floorboards. Yet Daniel Ray felt as if the house swallowed all sound, keeping its truest secrets in the walls themselves. They'd removed the skeletons upstairs. They'd bagged the body of the chained man below. Reports were already bouncing from state police to federal agencies. But one thing Daniel knew. When outsiders came, Bridger Hollow's truths would drown in bureaucracy. Boone lay near the stairwell, ears twitching. The dog hadn't relaxed since the first wall crumbled. His brown eyes followed Carla Monroe, who paced in the kitchen, cigarette burning low between her fingers. Daniel finally stepped in. You gonna tell me, or do I have to drag it out of you? Carla froze. Smoke curled around her face. Tell you what? Don't trust her. She knows. That's what the man said. Daniel's voice was low, edged with the weight of years. So, tell me, what did you know back then, Carla? Her jaw worked, muscles tightening. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she stubbed the cigarette out on the counter, leaving a black smear. I was 23, she said. Fresh out of the academy, green as spring grass. Callahan cornered me one night after patrol. Told me if I valued my badge, I'd stay out of his house. Said he had a way of keeping family matters private. Daniel's stomach turned. And you didn't say a word. Carla snapped her head up. And you did better? You closed that girl's case before it ever opened. Don't stand there acting holy. The words struck deep because they were true. Daniel had been weak, afraid of stirring a fight with a man the town already treated like poison. Boone growled softly, as though sensing the bitterness passing between them. Daniel spoke again, quieter. So what was it? Abuse? Cult? What the hell happened in this house? Carla's eyes darted toward the basement door. For the first time since he'd known her, she looked scared. I don't know. I swear it. But I heard things. People in town whispering. Callahan wasn't just some drunk with fists. Folks said he had visitors. Late at night, men from out of town. And screaming. Always screaming. Daniel's skin prickled. And you stayed silent. So did you? She shot back. The truth hung between them like rot. Neither clean, both guilty. Near midnight, the house shifted again. A deep groan, plaster crumbling somewhere in the dark. Forensics had left, state police delayed by the storm. It was just Daniel, Carla, and Boone in the hollow house. Boone leapt up, barking furiously at the living room wall. His claws raked wood. Daniel grabbed his flashlight, beams slicing across faded wallpaper. The wall pulsed. He swore it, like something beneath it moved. Carla stepped back. Oh, hell no. The wall buckled with a thunderous crack. It split open. Dust billowed. And there, in the cavity, lay a trunk. Old wood, iron-banded, the kind sailors once carried. Daniel's hands shook as he dragged it out. Boone barked, teeth bare at the box as though it stank of death. Carla muttered, "Don't open it." But Daniel already was. The lid creaked. Inside lay photographs, hundreds of them brittle and yellowed. Children's faces stared up. Women, too, all unsmiling. Some bound, some bruised. Daniel flipped through with trembling fingers. Every face was someone the town had whispered about, someone who had moved away or run off. 30 years of vanishings, all catalogued. Carla swore, staggering back. Jesus Christ, he kept trophies. Daniel's gut knotted. Not just trophies. Records. Like he wanted someone to remember. Beneath the photos were notebooks, scrawled with frantic handwriting. Daniel read aloud. The walls must feed. They must be given or they take their own. His hands went cold. Boone whined, pressing against his leg. Carla grabbed a notebook, flipping pages. Her voice cracked as she read. He said the house was built on hollow ground. Said there was something underneath, something that wanted more. Daniel looked at her sharply. You believe this? She closed the book with trembling hands. After tonight? You don't. The storm raged outside, wind battering the shutters. Somewhere deep in the house, the walls creaked like a groan of hunger. Carla whispered, Danny, maybe the house isn't done. He almost laughed, but Boone barked again, frenzied, wild. And then Daniel heard it, the faint scrape of nails inside the wall. Just like before, the plaster beside the trunk bulged outward. A crack tore open, and from it slid a single hand, fresh, bleeding, alive. Daniel staggered back. No, that's not possible. The hand clawed weakly at the floor, fingers leaving red smears. Then an arm. Then the outline of a face pressing against plaster as though drowning beneath it. Carla screamed. Daniel yanked his pistol free. But what good was a gun against walls that breathed? Boone lunged forward, teeth snapping at the hand until it dissolved back into dust, vanishing like smoke. Silence crashed down. Daniel's chest heaved. Carla's face was pale, wet with sweat. Boone panted, hackles rigid. The walls stood still again. But Daniel knew. They had seen something alive in there, or something pretending to be. Carla whispered, broken. The Callahans didn't just kill. They were feeding it. Daniel didn't answer. Couldn't. By dawn, rain had eased. The house was quiet. Too quiet. State police arrived mid-morning, sealed the place, loaded evidence. But Daniel knew the truth would never fully leave Bridger Hollow. Some things couldn't be filed away. As the sun rose, he stood by his truck with Boone at his side. Carla approached, eyes red from a sleepless night. They'll bury this, she said softly. Say Callahan was just another monster. Say the bodies tell the whole story. Daniel studied her. And what do you say? Her voice cracked. I say, the walls will remember. And one day, they'll want feeding again. He looked at Boone, the only one who had sensed it from the start. The dog stared back at the house, ears pricked, as if waiting for another crack to open. Daniel finally turned away. "Then we don't let it. Not again." Carla's eyes met his. Something passed between them. Guilt, betrayal, and understanding that neither would ever be free of what they'd seen. They drove back toward town, the farmhouse shrinking in the rear view, its windows black as sockets. Boone whined softly, and Daniel reached down, resting a hand on the dog's head. His throat tightened, words low, meant only for the animal that had dragged truth out of the walls. "Good boy. You saved us." For the first time in years, Daniel felt something like grief break through. Not for the Callahans. Not even for himself. But for every voice the walls had swallowed before someone finally listened. The dog closed his eyes, leaning into his hand. And the house, miles behind them, stood silent, its secret sealed for now.